I've always known that I was different. The world beats to a certain rhythm, and it's like all my life I've been dancing out of step. I've watched everyone around me live and function in this fast-paced hustle culture, and it's been clear that I can't live the life that I see others living. It's just too overwhelming, too fast, just too much. So over the years, I've retreated into myself and into a slow life, a life that I can handle. But still, there's been this nagging feeling in the back of my mind that something isn't quite right. As each year goes by, it's more obvious to me that I struggle with things that others don't. Sounds, smells, textures, working, being constantly overwhelmed. Times where my brain either violently makes its needs known through crying, struggling to breathe, needing repetitive movements, or shuts down entirely, where I exist in a fog, unable to process anything around me, or even speak. But it's also other people. The social dance that other people do feels like a foreign language, and the more I try to learn it, the less I understand and the more exhausted I feel. And it's like my brain has decided that I can no longer hide these things and pretend to be normal. I'm really nervous to talk about this right now because if I talk about it here on camera, it means that it's going from something that I think about and something that I talk to my husband Lucas about to actually admitting it to other people, and that makes me feel really nervous and self-conscious. It's not like it's a new concept to me. I've been thinking about this for years. It has always been in the back of my mind, like this little tickling thing, always wondering and thinking, no, it couldn't be me. Like this, I don't have this. I'm totally fine. I'm totally normal, but I'm not. And a few months ago, I heard of this idea again. And it's not an idea, really. I heard of this thing again, for lack of a better word. And this thing is autism. And I first watched a video about this 3 years ago, maybe, and thought, hey, that could be me. No, it's not me. I'm totally normal. Everyone wants to be special. I'm not special. Everything is fine. And I'm completely fine. I'm completely normal. There's absolutely nothing wrong. And it made me dismiss it. It made me not take it seriously. And 3 years ago, when I watched a video about the topic of autism, I just pushed it to the back of my mind and went, no, not me. But something happened a few months ago where it came up again. And I thought, maybe it could be me. Maybe it's time that I start looking into this. And funny enough, one of the things that made me wonder if I'm autistic is that when I get a new idea, they're called special interests in the autism world. When I get a new idea, when I latch onto something, I don't do it with 100% effort. I do it with 500% effort. It takes over my whole life, this idea. It's all-encompassing, all-consuming. Nothing else exists except for this idea in that moment. And that moment could last for days, it could last for weeks, it could last for months, and it could also last for years. I have had obsessions that have lasted for years, the raw food diet being one of them. And these special interests, as they're called, are really common for autistic people. And a few months ago, autism became this obsession for me, this topic that I couldn't put down, this thing that I couldn't stop researching, I couldn't stop talking about, and I couldn't stop obsessing over. And it's been several months now, and I have done so much research. I don't think I've ever been so knowledgeable on any topic ever, except for maybe fruit and raw food. I've rarely gotten obsessed to this level about a specific topic. And now I have watched every video I could find, every TikTok. I have read every research paper I could find that is within a language that I can actually understand. I've read through all of the autistic traits for women and girls, the psychology papers. I have done every online test that exists for autism, and I'm shaking right now because I am certain that I'm autistic. And it's weird because I have this imposter syndrome, which is one of the reasons why I didn't want to film this, why I didn't want to come on camera and start talking about this, because I feel, like I said before, everyone just wants to be special, and this must just all be in my head. And clearly I just made this up because I want attention or something. But the truth is, I don't actually want this. I have always just wanted to be normal. And I'm still shaking, I'm sorry if I'm shaking, but I have always just wanted to be normal. I have always wanted to fit in, and despite every ounce of effort going towards that goal, I've just never been able to. And there's been clearly something, I was gonna say wrong, because, but I don't wanna say wrong because I don't think there's anything wrong with me. I think I'm completely normal, just not for a normal person. I'm not normal in a normal way, if that makes sense. And I think I've just felt that something has been off for a very long time. And I dismissed it as all of these various little things like, oh, I'm quirky, oh, I'm different, oh, I have this weird thing and this weird thing. Except after a while, all of these little weird, seemingly unconnected, inconsequential things start to add up, and they start to connect in ways that I would have never thought existed before. And now here I am. And I think it's been 4 months since I started really researching about autism. And I needed to find out if I am autistic. And now I'm at the point where next week I have my assessment, my actual assessment. And I'm so nervous, I'm shaking so much because this matters to me so much. This matters to me, I think, more than any one moment in my life has ever mattered to me. And I have this assessment coming up, and one of the things that I had to do for this assessment was submit a document full of questions. They're very targeted questions all about autism and then also ADHD. And this is the first time in my life where I have ever reflected back on everything I have experienced from the time I was a child until now and put it in one cohesive place. And the document, I don't think I've ever written so much in my life. It's 45 pages long. And it took me 2 months to fill out, to contemplate these questions, to go over them, to talk to the family members that I'm still in contact with, which are few, to talk to my husband, and to just reflect and really truly think about these things deeply. And it was an incredibly eye-opening experience. It was exciting, but also terrifying at the same time. And it also brought up so many emotions in me, and anger, like, how did no one notice these things? How could no one tell that there has clearly been something different from the time I was very young? And I think it's that people didn't know what to look for. I didn't even until now. Now it's so clear to me. I know exactly what to look for. I know so much about this topic. I have joined all the support groups, shared my experience, and gone over all these things. But I think back when I was a child, people just didn't notice. They went, oh, that's Tara. She's just different. She's just quirky. She's just whatever. And now I know that there's maybe a name for this thing, for these things that I am, that I've always been. And that is terrifying, because when I have this assessment next week, I have put so much time and effort and emotion into this process of filling out this document, of researching, of thinking on myself, of trying to relate to other people, not even needing to try really, of just relating to other autistic people, because I don't know 100% if I am yet. But watching all these stories and reading all these posts and everything, every single one of them going, this is me. I know this to my core, like I've never known anything else. And the more I talk about it, the more my leg is shaking, because I'm just so damn nervous, because I might sound fine and maybe put together right now, or maybe even a little bit articulate, but I am absolutely terrified. I am terrified that next week I'm gonna go on this call and they're gonna say, no, you're not autistic, you're just weird, you're just broken. Not that a psychologist would ever say that, but that's what I'm gonna be thinking. Because if I'm not autistic, what am I? What is wrong with me? And I'm afraid that they're gonna say that I've just connected dots where there aren't any, or I've just made this all up in my mind. And what happens then? I don't know. I will be devastated. This is one of the things, and one of the other things, one of the many, many, many things, one of the over 100 or hundreds even of autistic traits that I have written down that I have, but that when my expectations aren't met, I'm devastated. I'm ruined. And this is, I think, the most I have ever set on one expectation in my life. And there's so much resting on this, which I know isn't healthy, but I can't do it any other way. And one of the things that I've gone through over these past few months is that I have been actively trying to be more of myself. I have been actively unmasking, which means it took me a while to wrap my mind around that for people who are autistic and who grow up and try to be normal, who don't know they're autistic, they try to fit in as much as possible, and they learn these behaviors of what it's like to be a normal person, and they put on this face, this mask, every time they interact with people, every time they go out, even at home. They even try to fool themselves into thinking, I'm totally normal, I'm totally fine, everything is okay. And that they're this like well-adjusted, social, completely normal person. And this is something that I have done my whole life. And it started to break down several years ago when I started to experience very, very severe anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts. And this is normal, I'm finding out, for people in their 20s and 30s, primarily women, to go through this breakdown of realizing that this facade they've put on their whole lives, it is not real. It seems real to other people. I guess it is in a way real. It's such it's such a complex thing. It is real, but it's also very fake, and it's necessary, but it's also very exhausting. And so I have been trying to take off this facade, this thing that I do, these things that I do, these behaviors that I've always had to make other people feel better about who I am. I have been taking them off for months now. And it's kind of like, I was talking to a friend of mine who's kind of going through a similar thing right now with autism. And we talked about it, that it's kind of like the raw food curse, where I experienced this for all the many years that I ate a raw food diet. The more raw you eat, the healthier you become, and the less you can handle the unhealthy foods, and not even unhealthy foods, but the less you can handle a cooked potato, simple things. And unmasking, this process that I've been going through the last few months, is much the same. The more I unmask, the more I start to realize, oh, actually, there's a lot of needs I have. There's a lot of things I need on a daily basis. There's a lot of things I need to do on a daily basis to make me feel okay and to be a well-adjusted, happy, healthy person. And as I'm doing these things, I'm realizing that it is very difficult to go out into the world, whether I'm interacting with other people, going into the city, if I have a basic appointment. It's very difficult to then try to put that mask back on. I'm at a point now where I can't. And that's scary, because now at home, I've had practice being myself, doing all these things, having all these things that I need. I'm not going to go into it now because a lot of them are still things that I'm coming to grips with, that's taken me this entire time to start to understand and accept. Because at first I was denying myself these things because I thought they were silly or childish or foolish in some way. So it's taken me months to come to grips with these things myself, and to then have to live without them in the real world, quote unquote, and try to interact like I always have and pretend like I am normal and everything is fine. It's becoming impossible. That terrifies me too. And this whole thing is just so nerve-wracking, because it's not just, what if they tell me I'm not autistic? That would be devastating to a degree that I've never experienced before. But what if they tell me I am? That's going to be hard. Less hard than if they told me I wasn't. But that means that this anxiety that I have and these issues that I have, I can't fix them. There is no fix. This isn't something you can go to therapy for. This isn't a mental health issue or a mental illness. This is a developmental disability and sensory disability that you are born with, that you have for the rest of your life. And that means that there is no fixing you. There is learning to cope. There's learning to accept yourself. There's trying to get other people to understand and comprehend that autistic people are just not the same as others, and they never will be, and they can't be. That's something new I'd have to come to terms with, because I really thought I could fix it. With my anxiety, I'll just take CBD oil, which does help a surprising amount. Or maybe I just need to go to therapy, or I don't know, maybe I can sleep with a weighted blanket, which again, these things all help. Like all these little things, they really assist me in living and coping and functioning. But it would mean that I would have to admit that this is the way I am. And then I have to talk to other people about it, which is the hardest part. So there's a lot right now, and this is a long clip. I don't even know how long it's going to be, but it was really important that I explain this and what I'm going through, because I would have judged this, and I would have judged myself for even saying these things years ago when I first got the inkling, maybe I'm autistic, I wouldn't have been compassionate towards myself at all. And being able to admit this is very important to me. And going through this process, and maybe someone else will relate and think, hey, maybe I'm different too, and maybe I should look into this, because I'm 32. And I can say that if I get this diagnosis next week when I have my assessment, I wish I would have known. There are so many things. It makes me emotional just thinking about it. I don't want to cry on camera, but like, there are so many things that I have experienced and gone through and suffered from in my life that didn't need to happen. So if I had known this years and years and years ago, if people had realized that there was something different about me, and then maybe it was worth looking into, my life could have gone in a very different direction. And I'm happy with where I'm at, so I'm not gonna go back and like think, what if it were different? I'm not gonna regret things, because I'm very satisfied with how my life has turned out. But what it means moving forward is that maybe things will get easier for me. It doesn't have to be such a struggle. I don't have to suffer from all of these things that I experience and do and have and the way I am. And already just the past few months of this unmasking process has been such an awakening for me. It's like I am starting to feel okay, I think, for the first time in my life. And I can't even explain how incredible that is. It's kind of mind-blowing. So I feel like I've said a lot. I feel like I've talked for 15 minutes now, longer than that. But yeah, this is going to be really interesting. So we'll see how it all goes.
Ready?
I'm really nervous. I need a few things. Are you saying that I have them? Is that
yes?
Is that
Yeah, I'm diagnosing you with ADHD and with autism. You have both of those things. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm going to leave you to process that. This will take some time to process. I warn you that you might be surprised what comes up. Sometimes it's fine, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's great, and then it isn't, and then it is again. And I'll write all that in my report, like how that process can happen. But are they happy tears?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. I'm sorry. I'm just...
No, it's okay.
I've doubted myself so much and felt like such an imposter, and to just be told, and yeah.
Finding out that I'm not crazy, I'm just autistic and have ADHD, is the single most empowering moment of my life. My life, my experiences, now exist on two timelines. The time before I knew that I was autistic, and now. I thought I would feel happy after my diagnosis. I thought that I would feel free, finally able to express myself and ask for the accommodations and support that I need. But mostly, I feel numb. I think my brain is having trouble processing all of this. But there's been some other emotions too. Sadness, because this means that there's no fixing me. No amount of therapy can change the way that my brain is formed. I feel like I'm grieving for the normal, neurotypical life that I always wanted, and now I know I'll never have. There's the same anger too. Why did no one notice this before? Why did no one think to question my differences? Maybe my life would have been different if they had. But then again, maybe it wouldn't. One thing's clear. I understand myself better now than I ever have. It's like a door has been unlocked, a light switched on in a dark room. All of these things that didn't make sense before now blend together perfectly, like I found the missing puzzle piece, and unsurprisingly, it fits. I know that this is just the beginning for me, and I hope that it starts to feel less hard and less overwhelming. I'm sure I'll get to a point where there's happiness in fully knowing who I am, but I'd be lying if I said that I've made it to that place. That level of joy that I expected to feel after getting my diagnosis. But this grief is part of the process too, and I'm giving myself grace to feel what I need to in this moment. I'll share more as time goes on, but right now I'm focusing on being present with this hugely transformative time in my life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.